of all, just thank you. Thank you. Becca put that on there. Thank you to everyone for all, really cross-country starts, obviously, in the summer. And, you know, I know we did those 2-a-days this year. And some of you, I just remember Leah always being the first one there and her parents dropping her off at the beginning and at the end twice a day. And I know it's a pain, but I appreciate everything. Appreciate all you guys taxiing people around all summer because without you guys, as Becca put on there, none of this would be possible here. Or springing the sort of late decorating party and so on your parents. Without Mr. and Mrs. Bradley, Andrew, none of this would be possible. So. Thank you to everyone who helped with the banquet. Mrs. Dawson, I know, took care of a lot of things there. Mrs. Crawford went and did a lot of shopping. Mrs. Quayle and Trey made all the, and Tommy, I'm sure, made all the beautiful posters over there on the window ledge. So parents, please make sure you take, or seniors, make sure you take your poster there. We don't really need a Charles Huss poster here. Sorry, Charles. And all the setup for everything that you guys did. Nace, thank you to the Naces and the Huss family for the vehicles during the parade. Now Maria's dad already said for next year we can have their nice Jeep, so we'll go ahead. But thank you very much for all that. Thank you, obviously. Coach Swenson is here today. You can't miss him in the green room. Tom has really done an awesome job at the middle school program, and without a lot of you had him in middle school. Hopefully he'll stay there for a very long time. And obviously Coach Henry, who has been here since 1948, correct? So, and the Sean Bickerstaff also helped out the middle school this year. All right, there was a little quote I did want to read since I'm an English teacher. And I did want to read it because I do think, and this isn't meant, did the Gileses leave yet? Oh, don't take this quote to the tennis banquet. I gave these kids an article this summer, and on the article, one of the last paragraphs, and we witnessed it last year at the WHIP final meet. I think there was 44 kids, and I, as a parent, I kind of just shut down as a coach there and was hauling kids off in that last meet. But I don't wish this on anybody, but there was 44 kids who I think passed out in the meet. 14 went by ambulance to the hospital. So real big in our WHIP notice this year was provide your own medical attention. So if there are any parents, nurses, please show up. But it was just a freak day last year with the heat and so on. But this was the last paragraph that was in there. Just to put cross country in perspective here. This guy just got done running, okay? His spikes were covered in mud and ran up both legs into his shorts. His tank top was mashed with sweat and grass and saliva, but the color was returning to his face. He was starting to feel better. You get a lot of tennis players in this ambulance, I asked the paramedics as they began to put away their gear. They chuckled and shook their heads. You ever get a basketball player in here who pushed himself so hard he literally couldn't see straight? Or what about soccer players? Sorry. Do they ever just collapse in pain during normal course of play? Only the runners do that, a woman said as she unhooked the monitors from Casey's body and found the wires and folded the wires into her pockets. Only the runners. And I do think it does kind of sum up. This is one of those sports where lots of people have run 5Ks, and I always say very few people have ever raced one. And when you get to that point, and I always tell Coach Morgan about that you don't really know it hurts. And every once in a while when I did my 3 days of training this year for my 629 mile, it does remind me of how bad it hurts. I get it. I empathize. And these guys do it on a daily basis. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty admirable and pretty nuts all in one. So it's a pretty cool thing. So that's where we're at. As far as the season goes, I think both teams had an awesome season. The boys were 7-1. Unfortunately, we dropped our last match against Franklin there. But that's 2 years in a row now. Last 2 years, the guys were 14-2 since I've been here. So they've done an awesome job. They did an awesome job before. They had a great program set up. So give the guys a round of applause. And there's a lot of senior leadership that's leaving, so it's really up to you younger guys to step in. And we were just talking about how it's very difficult for younger boys to step into a varsity program and do well but you really have got to have that mindset because there's a lot of these guys that won't be here next year. The girls were 8-0, champion of the section, so go ahead, round of applause there, ladies. And really, when you look at the lineup, we lost, when you look at coming into the season, really, we basically almost had a new, top 5 there as far as the lineup goes. There were some of those girls that were in there a lot of varsity races last year, but they weren't always consistently in the top 5. And so it's pretty neat to see that we just filled in a whole bunch of new plugs there. And the girls did a phenomenal job coming through. They had a couple tough challenges and so on. So now I know these guys always harp on me because I'm always, Stephanie used to hate me for this, but I'm always talking about North Allegheny, and it's only because I hate North Allegheny. They have 100 boys on their cross-country team. They have 98. Actually, have 98. Coach Henry and I said, "Hey, what's the matter? You guys can't get 2 more guys?" Said 98 boys on their varsity cross-country team. And the reason I always look at that as like that's where we want to be is because that's just kind of where I set the bar. And I think you should set it high and shoot for that and get to that level where you're at that level of competition, because it really does make all the pain and everything else you go through a lot more enjoyable. And I do see us progressively working towards that and to always keep that in the back of our heads every time we go out there. It's not because I'm ever disappointed with the race, because we just watched the video upstairs before we came down here. And if you ever saw Friday Night Lights, I'm a big sucker for it. But the speech there in the movie where the guy talks about being perfect, and it's not about the scoreboard, it's just about being true to yourself and knowing that at the end of the race, at the end of the game, that you've given everything you've got. And I have no doubts that these young men and women have done that all year. So round of applause to the athletes and all their efforts. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're call the, any other comments, Coach? Any questions?
Real quick, I just want to acknowledge all the hard work you guys put into it. Most of you I have coached since 7th grade, and a lot of fun. I'm going to miss a lot of you. Some I'm going to miss more than others. Yeah, Becca's a 5th-year senior. That's fine. But I just want to congratulate everybody on a great job you guys have done. And I know you're going to do well no matter what you choose to do in the future, especially you seniors that are going to be leaving us. And good luck.
Why don't we have, go ahead, senior boys, why don't you come on up here. Coach Henry will get you your stuff. As I took some little notes on it. These are going to be real quick. I got one funny thing, and because life is about balance. So one funny thing, one serious thing about each of you. So why don't you guys come on up here, Clay, you guys, all the seniors.
This is my first senior.
I'm just going to read them by the order I have on my card here. So first one is Matthew Mannergurg. Now Matt, and we've had the privilege of coaching brother Greg as well, which is why I've called him Mannergurg throughout his life here. But I think Matt has, I remember the one funny story last year. Remember when Matt was gone for a while, and all of a sudden he disappeared. We have this joke, Coach Henry and I, Matt just disappears for a while in the season, then he shows up, and he's like, I need a uniform, I never got one. This is the day of the meet, I think. And we're like, oh, yeah, you probably do. Where have you been? So hey, he'll walk by my room 10 times during the day, but never stops. So, but Matt is a very nice, my positive things say, okay. Matt is very smart, okay, as all the Mannerbergs. And he really does have, in all honesty, I've never seen him mad. Maybe he gets mad, but Matt has one of the best personalities on the team, and appreciate that, Matt, and we all love you, and we'll miss you, buddy. So, good job. All right, Justin Sheridan. I really, surprisingly, as much as he screws off and everything else, I couldn't think of anything funny about you. So Coach Henry's like, talk about Sharknado. Apparently Justin loves Sharknado. But I think Justin's a great kid. Justin's been around for years. I coached him in track before he came to cross country. He's been a steady leader throughout. He really does. It's tough sometimes as a senior to be on the JV squad, but he really has taken it in stride and been a steady leader. and I think these guys have looked up to him. And thank you, Justin, and we will miss you. Corey, we'll talk about Corey. Poor Corey, but I always talk about his shuffle, because if you've ever watched Corey shuffle, he has the Nace shuffle, where I don't think his knees actually even ever cross the front of his body. He just kind of just shuffles right along. No, and surprisingly, he'll go faster downhill than some of these guys, and I watch him. But Corey does. Corey's been a fun kid. He's always been the first one to volunteer, same as Justin there. Just a great, and Matt, great attitude. These guys show up every single day, and they work hard, even knowing that they're probably not going to be on the varsity lineup there, and they still show up every day and push themselves. And sometimes you do wonder, as a runner, why you do that to yourself. But running is something that's very contagious, and I think that hopefully you'll continue, and we'll miss you, Corey. Grant. Now, Grant is a first-year senior. We would love to have you for a few more, Grant. Grant, do you have any questions before I start? No? You know what's going on? Okay. Grant has a lot of questions, and the kid is always asking. He wrote his college essay. I got to read his college essay here, and he talks about being prepared. And I know I met his mother here. Where's your mother out there tonight? I met his mother tonight. But Grant is always prepared, whether in school or out of school. He talks about, I guarantee he knew he had to meet the other day, because he had his bag packed the night before, and he was ready to go. Grant really stepped in. I don't really recall, rarely ever, except for maybe Anna Yoni on the girls' side, of having a kid just come out for 1 year and really do as well as he did, because it is a hard sport to just show up and do well. And Grant put in tons of time. He told me about all the stuff he ran over the summer, and that's why I love coaching the sport. I've said it before, because if you put in the work, it pays off, it pays the dividends every single time, and Grant did that. So Grant, we will miss you. I wish we had you 3 more. Save that for Facebook there, huh? Andrew Bradley. Now, Andrew, people call Andrew my son. I'm not sure why I call him my son, but I think, and Brother Jess, who didn't make it, I don't think tonight, but I coached Brother Jess. Andrew, it was a great story in study hall. I remember a couple years ago when we had study hall together. He's sitting there and he confuses people at school. And so he's sitting there and he dropped his pencil on the floor. And this little freshman or sophomore went to pick it up and give it to him. And he just goes, just don't. I don't even want it. And the kid was like, what are you talking about? Like, here's your pencil. And the kid just like put the pencil back. They just leave it there. And I've seen him walk through the halls as an old man and everything else. But he is my son, I guess. So, but I will admit, when push comes to shove, Andrew has a lot of guts, and I knew this from the 4x8 and track and the JV meet last year. And I know, without a doubt, not putting any pressure on you, Andrew, but I know you'll come through tomorrow, because you always do when it counts, and you'll run your butt off, because I know you always do, because you have that competitive side of you that hopefully comes out tomorrow to help the boys get the county championship. So. I'll see you at home. All right, Charles. I told Charles that he's going to have to either leave us the leaf blower or access to the leaf blower, or else stick around next year just to be grounds crew. But it was funny yesterday when we were talking. We had some, hopefully, we're together a lot, okay? We've been together a lot since August, and tried being with your family for 3 months straight. There's some little drama, and Charles said, yeah, I know, I've had a girlfriend. And Charles always has girls. I don't know how, Steph, but there's always people coming into our homeroom to see Charles here. And he talked about, is she watching this? Okay, let's not hear. But he talked about the drama of relationships, and jokingly aside, there are always girls there in homeroom for Charles for some reason. So, no, Charles is honestly one of the nicest people. Just a great. You can't find a teacher that would ever have anything bad to say about him. As far as in school, all the stuff he does, these guys, he's like a Trey Quayle. He's a leader out there. And sometimes with boys, it kind of, you get maybe peer pressured to not be a leader. And Charles always does the right thing and is a very upstanding young man, and we will definitely miss you. And we'll drive by your house, so we'll see you, I'm sure. Clay. I was thinking of something funny to say about Clay, but two little stories. Number one, I go to Meineke all the time, browse Meineke, great auto store. But that does say something because I trust him, and I do. With Clay, I trust. Clay's a very mature kid. I trust everything he does. He's really worked hard this summer. I know his confidence level is up there because I honestly think what Clay has, maybe it's just a step up from some of these other guys here, is he just has that confidence factor. He knows he can go out there and beat somebody, and he goes after it and does it. And that's a huge part of this sport. The other day we were doing a workout. And I probably did it maybe a little slower than we should have. It was supposed to be a crash and burn. Problem is these guys never crashed. And Clay wanted to beat his dad's workout in 1977. His dad said he did 16 400s at 72. So we had done 12, and Clay said, well, I want to do 4 more. And I said, well, you might as well do 5 more and beat your dad. So that was pretty cool because everyone else at that point wanted to be done, and he kept running there and beat his dad. So we'll now call that what's your dad's first name? Ken. The Ken Brow Memorial 400s there whenever we do that workout. So good job, Clay. Congratulations. We miss you, buddy. All right, there's your senior boys.